Good evening, Fernwood. It is your mental health advocating friend Neil here, and it's time to advocate for a new episode of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Today we are watching episode 134, the fourth episode of season 2 from October 7th, 1976. Let's do our recap. Yesterday, Dr. Williams advocated that Mary should stay in the ward for a little bit longer to get things together. That may or may not be because of Mr. Ackerman's request that Mary stay in because they need the money of a celebrity being involved, but that's not mentioned yesterday. Mary is of course afraid of another patient, Chester Markham, who appears to have apocalyptic delusions. Back with the Shumways, Kathy reveals to Grandpa that she is pregnant and that she does not know who the father is. It really could have been any of the men that she was dating last season, including that one bartender that we never met, but also some other characters that we know pretty well. Back in Charlie's hospital room, he is desperate to find out exactly where he was injured or how he was injured, since he can't see below his bandages. Of course, the nurse tells him that a doctor has to confirm that, and Loretta says that Dr. Furman will be in shortly to address the question. Back at the mental ward, Chester Markham is on the phone with a scientist character who appears to believe that Chester actually has plutonium and that his apocalyptic delusions are not exactly only delusional. And then finally, Mary is quite eager to get out of the mental ward. Wanda, a friend of hers there, is getting a weekend pass, and Mary is desperate to get some messages to the outside. Of course, that is interrupted by Chester Markham, who is just a little bit creepy. That's our recap of yesterday's episode. Let's go ahead and get started, and we'll talk about it afterward.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
The saints are watching us, Charlie. I just happened to see the good doctor sneaking past and brought him right to your question inside, hon.
All right, what seems to be the trouble now, Mr. Haggers?
I can't take any more of it, Doc. I've lost my mind worrying about it.
All right. Now, look, first you got to learn to relax. It's an art.
I got to know. What else have I lost? I mean, you do know, don't you?
Well, yeah, I know what you've lost, of course. Physically speaking, that is.
Yeah. Well, physically speaking, that is. Was my manhood shot off, or do I still got it?
Well, physically speaking, Mr. and Mrs. Haggers, what you call manhood is a complex series of mechanical, cellular, chemical, psychological factors, all in the state of interaction.
How can I interact if I don't have my factors? Now, Doctor, you've got to be straight with me.
All right, now, Mr. Haggers, now look, please. Overstimulation is not going to speed up your recovery.
That's right. Now, don't you overstimulate, Charlie.
I mean, look, I'm happy to tell you your injury is not critical.
Oh.
It's not... Oh.
Be careful,
Hey, did
honey.
you hear that?
I did. And, Charlie, see, I told you that the good Lord was watching over his son, even if it was just a wink. Can you believe it?
You lost only one testicle.
What?
Wait a minute. By that,
Well, no,
do you
it was
mean
it was impossible to save it. You see, the other one, though, was in a state of severe trauma. That we were able to preserve.
Preserve? I mean, you don't mean like in a bottle or anything like that?
No. It's exactly where it always was.
Oh, well, that's good, isn't it, honey? That's good.
Can it do what it always could?
Depends.
Depends on what?
Several variables. Mr. Haggers, look. That entire region, down there is in a severe state of shock. The key thing is not to worry. My theory's always been, worry is the worst disease a man can have.
Paging Dr. Furman, emergency.
Boop. Gotta go. Duty calls. And look, don't worry about that.
Oh, honey.
Oh, Charlie, honey, everything's gonna be fine. Really, it is now. Now, you've got to stop dwelling on it, all right?
How can I do that? I mean, I've lost my manhood. I've lost my manhood, Loretta. I mean, that means we can't have any kids. We can't eat. Oh, that's too tough to even think about that.
Charlie Haggers, don't let me ever hear you talk like that. Do you hear me? Never let me hear you talk like that. And I just won't have it. Now, we've got a lot of things going for us, a whole lot of things. I mean, it's not as just as if that was just all there was, 'cause it's not, honey. I mean, there's millions of things in this world, they're just million things. Temporarily, I can't think of any right this minute, but honey, I mean, we have a terrific marriage. We really do, and everything's just going to be fine. Anyway, the doctor said that it wasn't necessarily permanent.
What kind of a husband am I going to be to you?
Oh, honey, you're going to be just exactly as you've always been. You're my inspiration, Charlie. I mean, shoot, honey, I couldn't be a superstar without you, lover.
Yeah, I can see it now. The fan magazines with the headlines like, here's Loretta Haggers and what is left of her husband, Charlie.
Now, Charlie, I'm not kidding. I don't want to hear you talking like that.
Well, hello, huggers. Get it? Sorry to break this up, but visiting hours are over. You'll have to leave now.
Well, I guess I gotta go, darling. But I want you to just have a fabulous rest and sleep tight, and don't you let those bed bugs bite. And honey, just know in your heart that everything is gonna be A-OK.
George?
Nope, he isn't here. Nice, isn't it?
But where is he?
He's going off with you to that place where they got Mary locked up.
But, Pa, I'm back.
Does that mean that he's back too? Well, at least I got to see Suzanne in peace.
Well, he must be back, only I can't find him. Now, at the hospital, we got there, we parked, and he got out of the car first.
Martha, you should have sent George off alone to the hospital to drop that plant off, since you couldn't see Mary yet anyway.
Why?
So we could see the kiddie shows together.
Pa, I don't like those kiddie shows.
You're kidding. They're so much better than the new season they got on at nighttime. Why, they don't even have a doctor show this year. How are we going to keep up with the world of medicine without Marcus Welby and Dr. Gannon?
Oh, Pa. George! George! Pa, I just can't understand what is going on here.
Martha, I can't stand around talking to you much longer. It's almost time for Ghostbusters.
Pa, I am talking about George. I just don't know what has happened to him.
Martha, George hasn't changed. He's always been like that. You've just been blind to it.
Maybe he's outside. George! Oh, Lord! George! Pa, I'm very worried.
I've been worried about him for years.
We got to the hospital and parked, and he told me to wait in the car while he got out, and walked around to my side to open the door.
There's no good ever came from being too polite.
And I waited, but he never got there.
Where?
He got out on his side, but he never got around to my side. I just don't know what happened to him.
Simple. It's the old get out of the car to go around the other side and then disappear act. I haven't heard of it used much lately, since most women don't wait for the man to open the door anymore. It's second only to the I'm just going out for a pack of cigarettes and then never be heard from again act.
Oh, Pa, that is the silliest thing I ever heard. George doesn't even smoke. Surely a man couldn't disappear just from going around the car to let his wife out.
It makes sense to me. It's a lot less strange than what happened to poor Judge Crater. And then I heard about this fellow that got up out of bed at night to go to the bathroom. His wife heard him flush the toilet, and that's the last she ever heard of him.
Pa, I am just not going to listen to any more of that nonsense. Now, a man just can't disappear in the thin air. There must be some plausible excuse for all this happening. Oh, it is so eerie. Maybe he's upstairs taking a nap. George! George!
You know, the more that guy disappears, the more he grows on me.
Mary, since you're the newest here, are there any questions you'd like to ask?
I was just wondering what Mrs. Defarge was knitting. I mean, it's just so lovely with all the names in it.
Thank you, dear. It's a combination muffler and diary. You see, the names and dates are worked right into the pattern.
Oh, well, whose names are they?
Oh, our fellow patients. You see, each date commemorates the first shock treatment of each one. Isn't that sweet?
Oh, yeah, that's very sweet. That's right. Is my name on there?
Not yet.
Mary, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? You know, we were so proud of you when we watched you on TV, and that was even before you became part of our little family.
Oh, well, actually, I'd really rather just sit back and, you know, listen for a while. I mean, it's not, I'm not trying to avoid talking about myself or anything. It's just that I'm not real good in groups or anything like that, if you know what I mean. I'm better like one person to another, you know? I mean, like if you saw me on the David Susskind show, then you know what I mean. And if not, I was just told this morning they're definitely going to have me back. You know who is very good in groups? I've noticed this ever since I got here. Wanda. Wanda is a real groupie.
Where is Wanda?
She's getting dressed
To leave?
for her 2-day pass. Yes.
Reverend Jeter, what is it, dear?
Well, I'm sorry to bother you like this, but how many S's are in transgression?
3, Reverend.
Thank you. It's so handy having a librarian around.
Oh, why, thank you, Reverend. I was so lucky to find this part-time job when that fund shortage cut my job at the library in half.
There you are. What are you doing here, son?
Writing you a note.
A note? You don't have to write your dad a note. You know, you can talk to your own father.
I was talking to my father, my heavenly father, and he told me to, well,
Told you what?
run away from you. That's why I was writing you a note.
Come here a minute, boy. Come here. Son, listen to me. I know how upset you are about that shooting business and everything, but I can't believe you want to run away from your old dad and leave him all alone.
You're a sinner, Pa, and that's the truth. The Bible says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife.
Can't you find it in your heart to forgive your own father, boy?
Maybe I could forgive you for the coveting, since the sinful act was not consummated. But the shooting and the violence, you know how much I hate violence.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the violence, son, because it was Mr. Haggers that started that violence when he come at me with that shotgun.
Yes, but it was your sinful lust for his pure and faithful wife which brought on the violence. They were married under the sight of the Lord, and what God hath joined together let no man put asunder. Yet you were trying to put them as asunder as possible.
Jimmy
You were
Jones.
violating the sacred commandment. Yes, in sin, in treachery, in vice, in wickedness, in depravity, in corruption, in degradation, and in
Shame.
shame. Thank you. That's good.
I know, son, and that just shows you how much I love you. You can always turn to me when you need a little help. You understand? And won't you please forgive me? Won't you please say that you're not angry at me anymore?
It's a difficult decision.
Oh, son, don't break your daddy's heart. I mean, I've learned a bitter lesson here. I'm repenting now. Can't we be like we always were? Better than we were. Son, I'll give you anything you want.
You will? What?
Well, You always had a hankering for a television set, right?
You're gonna buy me a
No.
TV?
Wait a minute, son. I didn't say buy. We're talking about an expensive item here.
You said anything
No,
I
I'll
want.
tell you what I'll do. I'll rent you one. That's what we'll do. We'll rent one till we find out whether this television season's going to be worth buying one. All right?
A portable
A
set?
portable television set.
When? When are you gonna get it?
I'll go out there and buy it right now. Is that good enough for you?
Wow!
Huh? All right. Meantime, I want you to go back to the room, okay? Son, now listen, I want you to get some rest. You got all head up worrying about vice and wickedness now, and I want you to get some rest. You understand?
All right, I'll try. But it's hard when you hate violence as much as I do.
I know, son, I know. And when I get back, I'm gonna fix you a hot bath. Nothing calms a body better than a hot tub, okay? Huh? All right.
How's everything, Mary? Did you have a good day?
Normal. I'd say everything's just boring, thanks. Have there been any phone calls or like one big, great group letter from my family?
Mary, I'm sorry group was so down tonight. But you see, whenever anyone goes away, even if it's just for a couple of days, it's very hard to deal with. You see, we're really very close. And Wanda, well, she's someone very special here.
I can see that. Nurse Gimble, could I ask you a question?
Oh, of course.
I mean, it's just like you know everything about us. We're patients, and you keep saying, we're like a family.
Right.
But I don't know anything about you.
What do you want to know?
Well, to begin with, I've been very concerned about these injuries of yours. First your neck, and then your arm.
Well, it's just little accidents at home.
Oh, really? Well, you see, that's the place where you have to be the most careful. I mean, Reader's Digest says that more serious accidents happen in the home than anywhere else. Like slipping in the shower.
Yeah.
What did you do to get yours?
Well, the first accident, actually, when I hurt my neck, was really responsible for everything. You see, I was oiling the leaves on my rubber plant.
You still do that? I thought it was proven, like that soap and water were better for rubber plants.
Well, I don't know about the plant, but I am sure that soap and water would have been better for me. I was just saying goodnight to my plant. Its name is Goodyear. And just as I turned around, I slipped on one of the leaves that had fallen off. And it was coated with Wesson oil, so I really went flying. And that's how I wrenched my neck.
What about your arm?
Oh, it's still the fault of the leaf. I had on my neck brace and my bathrobe, and as I was walking by the bathroom door, the cuff on my sleeve caught on the doorknob, and I couldn't see it, so I just kept on walking. Anyway, it seems that it wrenched my arm out of its socket.
I read an article, and it talked about people who were accident prone. And you sound exactly like one of them.
Oh, no. No, it really is nothing like that at all. It's just that I'm a little clumsy, and I really don't mind it all that much because my husband has become so much more helpful.
Hi.
Well, I've got to get back to work. I'll let you say goodbye to Wanda.
Oh, Wanda. You look wonderful. So chic.
Oh, well, it's all in how one accessorizes, Mary dear. Well, I really must be going. Now, I'll be back in a couple of days, but while I'm gone, I want you to look after everything here. The ward is in your hands now.
But why me? I mean, I'm new here. Are the doctors and nurses going too?
Oh, isn't that sweet? Doctors and nurses. Oh, that is sweet, Mary. Well, I really must fly now, darling. Now, take care of everything, especially Ronald. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Ronald? For the next 2 days, I am in charge here. And I tend to take my responsibilities very seriously. Always have. Mainly, we're gonna watch a lot of television to help build strong muscles. You know how important that they think that is.
The stars shine the brightest, the shows are the biggest, and the best
Ronald?
of the whole new season is right here on Fernwood's own Channel 6.
Ronald.
Laugh with America's great clowns. Thrill to action and adventure. Live romance, drama, and high emotion. The best and the biggest, the new television season
Ronald.
here on your own set,
Listen,
in
do you
your own
think
living
like you
room,
could just
in your own home,
try
in
to
your
show a
own
little
city of
more
Fernwood.
interest in what's going
Night
on?
and every night.
I mean, I know the new season is...
Ah, that's a good boy.
If you could
good.
just try to
Now you don't sound like a phonograph anymore.
blink. Or breathe.
Hey, you better get back on that train.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Gene.
Or breathe.
I don't want to get back on the train. I want to go out to you and...
Good, that's good. That's good, that's it.
But you've got a concert in San Francisco.
Who cares?
Your folks might care.
I haven't any folks. Just Uncle Louis. And he doesn't like me, except for the way I play my violin. If it hadn't been for Miss Nona, I'd be...
And when we don't watch TV, we can always look outside. Through this. This is a window, Ronald. On the other side of these bars is the rest of the world. External pressures are out there. But we have the bars up to keep us safe. While we're here, all we have to do is to rest and be comfortable. We couldn't be safer anywhere in the whole wide world. You know? And soon, if we behave ourselves, maybe they'll think we're safe enough to be let out of here. And we'll get to go home.
So, Charlie has found out that one of his testicles is no longer there. And I think you can be sexually active with one testicle less than you're given. But for Charlie, it appears that he feels like he's lost his entire manhood. And I thought Tom was the one who had manhood issues. I don't mean that as a gag, but like Tom is generally questioning his manliness. Manhood and manliness don't mean the same thing, I guess, in context. But anyway, Charlie is afraid of that, and Loretta is sweet and supportive. Of course, now Charlie's going to be alone for the night, and he's probably going to dwell on that for a lot longer than he should. Martha comes home and George is missing, and that is something. I don't know how it could have happened since they left together and left in the same car, and it makes me think that we are basically going to ignore the disappearance of Billy 12trees at the end of last season, which is sad in one way in that an indigenous actor has lost a job, but I guess not quite so sad in that that actor had to play a stereotypical Native American trope. So, but anyway, Martha is looking for George. Of course, no question where he is or no answer where he is, and that puts off Kathy talking to George about whatever Kathy was talking to George about, pregnancy. Then we briefly stop in at the psych ward as folks get to know each other a little bit more. Then we get to where the Jeters are staying, and Jimmy Joe is in touch with the librarian from the old Ferndale Library, which apparently has been closed due to budget cuts. And I mean, I guess since Mary is stuck in a mental ward at the moment, she's not going to be looking for sex education, but it's sad when a library closes. But anyway, Jimmy Joe is planning to run away until Merle does some sweet talking on the kid, and we'll see what that means. Then we get to know Nurse Gimble a little bit more, and I don't know if it's going to be a storyline, but it has been one of those questions in my mind of why is she injured and more injured when we see her. I mean, she didn't have a new injury today at least, so that's pleasant. She, claims that it's an accident based on a rubber plant, and, I guess take her for her word at it. We only have known her for a couple of days, although typically when a woman in a show, or maybe in real life, claims to have accidents and injuries, you might question that a bit and wonder about the domestic violence situation. And I can't speak to that at this point. I only can take her at her word, but my feeling is something is worse than just a rubber plant and clumsiness. Then again in the ward, we get a little scene between Mary and Wanda as Wanda bestows the care of the ward upon her and goes off into the world. I think we'll see exactly what that might mean for the show. But then Mary talks to another patient. I believe that patient's name is Roger. And I feel like Roger, while I was watching, I had feared that he might actually be dead and that Mary was talking to him, but thankfully he got up, catatonic as he may be, but not dead. And then Mary takes Roger and faces the window and compares it to the television. And I wonder if that's a metaphor for us watching the television screen, watching the screen out into what is a substitute for the real world, because it's a television studio in real life. And the thoughts that she had were really, they're antithetical to television in some ways, and I appreciate that. And maybe if I were to listen to that speech again, I could get more out of it. I think this may be worth review, but I don't have time to do it because I'm talking to you at the moment. Maybe I'll watch it again, in the editing process. But anyway, and then Grandpa brought up children's television and during his scene, and he mentioned Ghostbusters, which was the Filmation version of Ghostbusters that was on the air that had the name Ghostbusters locked up until the movie that came later, they're completely disconnected properties that share a name and some legal questions. But anyway, I will put a video about the whole Ghostbusters thing up there right here because I like to share the information. So thank you so much for sharing some mental health advocacy with me, everyone. As always, I appreciate the thoughts that you share about the shows that we watch, and hey, it's all good stuff. Thank you again for being with me. Thank you for spending the time to watch some TV and consider it with me, and we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.